Ready? Okay. I would like to call the February 14th, 2018 meeting of the Zoning Commission to order. Will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Belinsky.
Here.
Mr. Zabel.
Here.
Ms. Zimmerlein.
Here.
Mr. Cott.
Here.
Mr. Creedy.
Here.
Everybody's here. Our first order of business is to approve minutes from the January 10th meeting, which was primarily an organizational meeting. Everybody should have received those. Do I have a motion to approve those?
I'll make a motion to approve the previous minutes. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Anybody see any additions or corrections? Hearing none, call the roll.
Okay. Mr. Zabel.
Yes.
Ms. Zimmerlein.
Yes.
Mr. Cott.
Yes.
Mr. Creedy.
Yes.
Mr. Belinsky.
Yes.
Motion carries. So we have no items of old business that were carried forward, and we have 3 items of new business. The first 2 items of new business are a zone change request for a property located at 8732 Brent Road, and the second one is also a zone change request for property located at 8732 Brent Road. So even though there's 2 different requests, one requesting to go to R1 residential and one to R2 PUD residential for it's really basically one project, so even though we will vote separately, we will hear and discuss them together.
Right.
So Daryl, if you want to walk us through it.
Subject property consists of a 53-acre lot. Parcel was rezoned in 2003 from A3 agriculture to a straight PUD with no underlying zone district. At that time, the Sylvania Township zoning resolution did not require underlying zoning for a PUD. In 2012, Article 20 of the zoning resolution was revised with an underlying zone district required for an approved PUD. The PUD approved in 2003 was never enacted upon, and the parcel has been used for agricultural purposes since that time. The applicant wishes to have the parcel rezoned to allow the construction of a residential subdivision to be named Quarry Ridge. There are two components to the proposed subdivision. Nearly 15 acres to be rezoned to R2 PUD for residential villas, and 38 acres, the subject of this request, to be rezoned to R1 residential for medium-density single-family residential. The R1 zone portion would consist of 114 lots on the 38 acres. This represents a density of just under 3 units per acre, 2.97. The 2007 Sylvania Township Land Use Plan recommends suburban residential uses at a density of between 2 and 6 units per acre for this part of the township. R1 residential, along with R2 residential, is a corresponding zone district for the suburban residential category. The density of the 2 adjoining subdivisions to the west, Brent Crossing and Villas at Brent Crossing, combined is 2.78 units per acre. Primary access to the subdivision will be via Brent Road. There will be a connecting street to Birchfield Road in the Brent Crossing subdivision to the west, and a stub street for future connection, if warranted, to the parcel to the east. Zoning staff recommends approval of the requested zone change for 38.35 acres of the parcel located at 8732 Brent Road, parcel number 78-10477, from PUD to R1 residential for the following reasons. 1, the proposed zone change is compatible with the recommendation of the Sylvania Township Land Use Plan. 2, the proposed zone change meets the requirements of the Sylvania Township zoning resolution. 3, the proposed zone change is harmonious with the neighboring density and uses. And 4, the proposed zone change should have minimal, if any, unfavorable impact upon the surrounding area.
The shaded area there, is that where the villas are supposed to be? Is that
Yes, and I've got the site plans on a separate
we all
PowerPoint.
have the big map, but it wasn't that,
Right.
when it was shaded, that's where the villas would be, and then everything else is the
Correct.
houses,
Correct.
is the intent.
And I'm not sure if the chair wants me to just go ahead and do the staff report for
Yeah,
the
go
other
ahead.
one, or if
Yeah,
you want to
do both
handle
of
them
them.
individually.
No, I want to take them both together.
Okay. Well, forgive me for the repetition here. I sound like a broken record. Much of it is the same. As mentioned in the companion zone change request, the subject property consists of a 53-acre lot The parcel was rezoned in 2003 from A3 agriculture to a straight PUD with no underlying zone district. At that time, the Sylvania Township zoning resolution did not require underlying zoning for a PUD. In 2012, Article 20 of the zoning resolution revised with an underlying zone district required for an approved PUD.
So the whole thing was approved for one PUD.
Right.
Okay.
The PUD approved in 2003 was never enacted upon, and the parcel has been used for agricultural purposes since that time. The applicant wishes to have the parcel rezoned to allow the construction of a residential subdivision to be named Quarry Ridge. There are two components to the proposed subdivision. The 38 acres mentioned previously to be rezoned to R1 residential for medium-density single-family residential, and the subject of this request, the remaining nearly 15 acres to be rezoned to R2 PUD for residential villas. The subject request to an R2 PUD consists of 50 lots on 14.84 acres, representing a density of 3.37 units per acre. Section 2002 of the Sylvania Township zoning resolution dictates a maximum of 4.65 units per acre for an R2 PUD. The Sylvania Township Land Use Plan recommends suburban residential uses at a density of between 2 and 6 units per acre for this part of the township. R1 residential and R2 residential are corresponding zone districts for the suburban residential category. The density of the two adjoining subdivisions to the west, Bryn Crossing and Villas at Bryn Crossing, combined is 2.78 units per acre. Access to the PUD and the rest of the subdivision will be via Brent Road. The PUD will have no other access points and will consist of 3 cul-de-sacs. Section 2002B of the zoning resolution mandates that a maximum of 40% of the gross parcel acreage shall be devoted to coverage by building, structure, street, driveway, or parking. This maximum 40% coverage requirement equates to 5.94 acres of the proposed PUD. The site plan indicates 4.85 acres or 32.7% coverage. Section 2002C of the resolution dictates a minimum of 15% of the gross parcel acreage, none of which shall be part of any yard, shall be allocated to usable, accessible, and consolidated common open space, which may include recreational areas, ponds, detention, retention areas, or natural areas. This minimum 15% requirement equates to 2.23 acres of the proposed PUD. The latest revision to the site plan for the PUD indicates 2.28 acres or 15.3% open space. This open space calculation includes the 1.87 acre detention pond. Zoning staff recommends approval of the requested zone change for 14.84 acres of the parcel located at 8732 Brent Road, parcel number 7810477, from PUD to R2 PUD for the following reasons. 1, the proposed zone change is compatible with the recommendation of the Sylvania Township's Land Use Plan. 2, the proposed zone change meets the requirements of the Sylvania Township zoning resolution. 3, the proposed zone change is harmonious with the neighboring density and uses. And 4, the proposed zone change should have minimal, if any, unfavorable impact upon the surrounding area. Staff further recommends that approval of the requested zone change for 14.84 acres of the parcel located at 8732 Brent Road from PUD to R2 PUD be subject to the following 54 conditions as presented in the Lucas County Plan Commission staff report of January 24, 2018. The original LCPC staff report had 58 conditions. 3 conditions were deleted during discussion at the Plan Commission public meeting. The applicant has since that time revised the site plan to meet the minimum open space requirement of 15% and eliminate the need for a waiver on that requirement. And attached to your staff report were those conditions from the Plan Commission.
Lucas County Plan Commission recommended approval of both these changes.
Unanimously.
Okay. Is there anybody who wants to add further information or details for the board to consider? If you are going to speak, we're going to ask you to go to the microphone. Make sure you state your name and address because the meeting is recorded. And go ahead.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Steve Mitchell with Mitchell Development Company, 3150 Republic Boulevard, Toledo, Ohio. We are the applicant for both of the zoning changes. We are also the developer of the adjacent Brick Crossing subdivision. This is essentially a mirror of that subdivision. The portion that is the R2 PUD request is adjacent to the villa portion of the Brent Crossing subdivision, and then this R1 portion, as you get north of that R2 section, is adjacent to the single-family part of Brent Crossing. We will have a stub street into Brent, or connecting point into Brent Road, Brent Crossing at Birchfield, and we are also adding a stub street going to the east for any potential connection. It's hard to see on that plan, but we also have a connecting point into Pacesetter Park, similar to what we did at Brent Crossing. Right there. We've had some discussions already with the Pacesetter folks, so we plan to connect into the bike path that's pretty much at that corner right there. We will probably connect into Brent Crossing in the second phase of our development. So that will allow people at that point to have access to the park through our existing pathway to Pacesetter. We are in agreement with all of the recommendations, agree to comply, both Lucas County Planning Commission and also Sylvania Township. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
The plat numbers that you have, that's basically the order in which you're planning on doing it? So you do the front and then the villas before?
The villas and the single family will go concurrently.
Oh, okay.
So we will build a plat of each at the beginning, and then as market conditions dictate, we'll add additional plats. But that right now is our best guess on the kind of phasing we would do. If the market accelerated, we might do 2. If the market slowed down, we might do half of a phase.
Are there any questions from members of the zoning commission?
Yeah, I just have a couple. On the entrance, are you going to have to widen the ditch there or add more culvert pipes to the west?
We have a small portion of the ditch that we will have to put a culvert in.
So you have...
Yeah, we've tried to move it. The ditch crosses the street roughly in that location, but there is a small portion of it that we will have to...
basically be on top of the culvert almost with your entrance boulevard?
A portion of it.
And then you have no problem with some of the contingencies like the drainage easement for Comstock Ditch. The plans show 30 foot wide in some of these backyards along the ditch, and then Lucas County said something about 20 foot. So I just want to know what it was going to be and if that would be accessible for an excavator or something to provide maintenance throughout.
We had to do a similar thing on the other side of the ditch to leave room. There's, I think, a setback of 25 feet, 20 feet from the top of bank. So we've designed all of the lots to take that into account.
Okay.
So there's enough room to get through there.
Sure, because I know on the other side, some of those decks and stuff are like right on the ditch
Right.
bank. So they're requiring you to leave one side accessible.
Yes.
And then downstream conditions, you have no problem with. I mean, obviously you've seen it. That ditch is 6 foot wide on Brent Road, and then it goes across the street. It's a foot wide.
Right.
I mean, the trees are growing together there. It really needs cleaned out from there up through Prairie Park or to there where they widened it.
I mean,
It's
our
not
plan.
that far, maybe 600 feet, but that would be my one holdup is that needs done to create.
Yeah, whatever the county ends up requiring us to do, we'll comply with. But our plan is to detain the stormwater on site
Sure.
and then meter it out.
Because that ditch does along Brent Road hold a lot of stagnant water.
Right.
You know, cattails are growing there, mosquitoes. So for quality of life of these people, I mean,
Yeah, we
I'd
won't
like
be
to see the
allowed.
drainage-
We won't be allowed to do anything other than the current flow of drainage into that ditch
Sure.
through our storm sewer design.
I'm just saying, so you don't have problems down the road with that stagnant water. I think the county is already addressing it in their 54
I believe so.
Sure.
I had a question before we started the meeting. What do you expect the average price of the villas and the houses to be?
The houses would probably be in the 275 range and up. The villas, I would guess, would be around 200,000, and then some lower, some higher, depending on the option packages people would choose.
Okay. Any other questions from members of the zoning commission? Okay, thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Is there anybody else who wishes to address the zoning commission on this issue? If you do, you need to step to the... State your name and address.
My name is Terry Gorski. I live in Bryn Crossings on Galloway Court. My backyard faces Plot 2. The ditch is half on my side. I don't know if it's half on my side. So you're trying to tell Mr. Mitchell, villas are only going to be 200,000 and less?
200,000 range.
Because the houses on my side, just my two neighbors just built two new houses, and they were both in the 250s. This is going to lower property values. Yes, it will. In the meantime, just a small statement on my part, my wife's part, we moved here 12 years ago because of the open areas, the green space, the quiet community, and you're building all these homes. You're going to have more traffic, more crime, less green space. I enjoy looking out my back window at the crops. It won't be there anymore. You guys are expanding so rapidly in this town, you're just becoming another township. It used to be beautiful here. And now all you see is homes everywhere. I just don't get it. And taxes, I could have stayed where I was and paid half the taxes.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else who wishes to offer some comments on the proposal? Go to the microphone, name and address.
Bill Paul, 8624 Brent Road. I'm the lower 2.5 acres there to the left. Couple things. The drainage on my property I'm a little bit concerned about because of all the old field tile that are down through there. I'm sure that Steve will address that one so I don't get a basement full of water. I have very grateful to have lived there 30 years with nothing in back of me, so I guess that, time was up for us. So also is the cut through from that other subdivision, is that going to be a cut through for that other subdivision, increasing traffic for us? Just a thought.
I mean, we were required to put a stub street in. I don't know if you
Are you gonna connect it?
Yeah, when Brent Crossing was put in or proposed more than 10 years ago, we were required to have a stub street to this property, so now we're required to connect into it.
Well, and some of that is for safety vehicles, and it's also, I think, you get parents that are running kids back and forth. They don't always have to go out to Brent. They can stay in the neighborhood.
And it's the same reason that we're required to put a stub street going to the east.
And Mr. Kriege's concern about that ditch, that ditch goes nowhere. I mean, like you were saying, it's very stagnant. Some of it goes across the street into the Prairie Crossings, but then it just stops. So
It needs dipped out. I mean, there's no question of it.
But I don't know where you put it. But
It will eventually go south towards Sylvania Avenue and through the quarry. But those trees are there's too much growth there. The park would have to let them go through there, which I don't think they can stop them if the county tells them to clean it.
right. Well, that was
They know there's a problem there too. I mean,
yeah, that was more of a statement than anything. I'm sure they'll address it anyway. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to offer a comment on this? Excuse me. Going once, going twice. Anybody else have any additional comments? Okay. So members of the Zoning Commission, any additional questions?
I had one for Daryl, and maybe it's not that relevant because the PUD was never acted upon. But do you know how many lots roughly the previous PUD was for? I had no way of looking it up or accessing it, so I didn't know ballpark if it was similar density or.
Looks like Mr. Mitchell may know the answer to that.
Yeah, actually, when we first started in this project, we were trying to figure out a way to use the existing PUD. It was done under your previous rules, and there was no detailed site plan like that, but there was a plan submitted with it that showed a far higher density. It had more mixed residential uses, some multifamily, and it also had a commercial aspect to it. And I think because of the economy, it was never acted upon, but it had been in place for about a decade. But it was kind of modeled after a small version of Mayberry.
Any other questions? It's the first time in a long time we've had a big development.
First time since I've been here.
I was going to say, I haven't seen one this big in a long time, which hopefully is a positive sign for the economy coming back. We need a motion then for number 4, which is the zone change request from the PUD to R1 residential for the property located at 8732 Brent Road. Do I have a motion?
Motion approved.
You're making the motion. Is there a second?
I will.
You have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Mr. Polinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Zabel.
Yes.
Ms. Simline.
Yes.
Mr. Pat.
Yes.
Mr. Creedy.
Yes.
Motion carries. We will take up item number 5, which is a zone change request from PUD to R2 PUD for the property located at 8732 Brent Road. Do I have a motion?
Approved.
We have a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
And a motion and a second. Any additional comments or discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Okay. Mr. Creedy.
Yes.
Mr. Pat.
Yes.
Mr. Polinsky.
Yes.
Ms. Simline.
Yes.
Mr. Zabel.
Yes.
Motion carries. Good luck with your project, Mr. Mitchell.
And I'd just like to add, this will be before the trustees for final approval, March 6th. It's a Tuesday. It'll be at 6 o'clock.
Okay. We have one last item, which is the text amendment change regarding Article 22 fencing, which basically, as I read it, means that we're going to allow fences to be 6 inches higher than our current zoning rules allow. Is that sort of the gist of it?
Right.
Which is consistent with other places around us?
Yes.
So if you want to walk us through that
Sure.
quickly? Sure.
Currently, Section 2211, fencing of the Sylvania Township zoning resolution, requires that open fencing such as a split rail or chain link fence be no higher than 3.5 feet when located within a front setback. The Sylvania Township Zoning Department is requesting an amendment to this requirement to allow a maximum height of 4 feet. This request originates from a recent variance approved by the Sylvania Township Board of Zoning Appeals for an open fence within the front setback on a residential corner lot, as well as numerous requests from fence permit applicants. Additionally, the next 2 largest townships in Lucas County, Springfield and Monclova, allow a maximum 4-foot height on open fencing. Amending Section 2211 would bring uniformity on this matter to much of the unincorporated area of western Lucas County. This amendment would apply to open fencing only. The maximum height for solid fencing or walls in a front setback would remain at 3 feet. Lastly, Section 2211 requires that all fencing, clear traffic visibility must always be well maintained. In the event that the zoning department does not consider this requirement met, approval of a fence permit may be denied regardless of meeting the height requirement. Zoning staff recommends approval of the requested text amendment to Section 2211 of the Sylvania Township zoning resolution.
Is there any questions for Daryl?
Solid fence stays the same.
Hey, this is a chain link fence in the front yard. I'm trying to picture wherever you can see one.
Hopefully not too many places.
Where do you put a chain link fence in the front yard?
We'll probably have some of them in like the northeastern part of the town.
Places where they don't have deed restrictions on properties.
Yeah, older properties.
Things with bigger dogs.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's just not.
But they can put up a fence now for 3.5 feet, so this just gives them 6 inches, right?
Right.
Yeah,
And
we aren't
again- and again, it's
changing
only
anybody's
on-
right to put up a fence, it's just they can make it a little higher.
Right, it's only on open fencing, and if we feel that visibility is impacted negatively, then we still have the option of denying that permit.
Do I have a motion to approve this text amendment change?
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion to approve the text.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, call the roll.
Mr. Zelinski.
Yes.
Ms. Simline?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Zabel?
Yes.
Mr. Creedy?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And again, that will be before the trustees for final approval on Tuesday, March 6th at 6 p.m.
Okay. And are we looking at a meeting for next month, do we know, or?
I don't think so. No, because we're not looking before the plan commission this month, so, no.
Or probably not in March. Okay. Any other items for the good of the order? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
A motion to adjourn, do I have a second? Motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Yes.
Ms. Simline?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Creedy?
Yes.
Mr. Zelinski?
Yes.
Motion carries, meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Fill all the time. Unless Mary takes one. You know. Should be a couple more in there.
Here's a rubber band, do you need one? It's a big one.
Mind if not?